On April 18th, the president, prompted by a text message from Joe Rogan, the influential podcaster, signed an executive order directing federal agencies to accelerate the review of psychedelic drugs, including ibogaine, a drug showing potential in the treatment of addiction, but that also carries risk for serious cardiac side effects and neurotoxicity, meaning it can kill brain cells. News of this really concerned me because medical practice shouldn't be determined by such opinion leaders, but by scientific data from rigorous studies after thorough FDA review. Now, while this may make for a remarkable political story, it raises a question that cuts to the heart of how America makes decisions about healthcare and medical practice. Should public, much less celebrity opinion drive FDA policy? Well, the answer, of course, is no. But not because the opinion is necessarily wrong, but because a podcast is not a clinical trial, a text message is not data, and we've already seen what happens when enthusiastic public opinion drives policy with cannabis. So what are the implications of Rogan's text? Rogan's first point is that ibogaine holds great promise for the treatment of addiction. And this is partially true. On one hand, there are many uncontrolled observational studies which describe promising results. But on the other, they're not a substitute for well-designed randomized clinical trials that yield statistically significant results proving the effectiveness of the drug. And there's only been 2 of those. One had 27 subjects that were assigned to one of 3 treatment groups, either 120 or 180 milligrams of noribogaine, which is an active metabolite of ibogaine, or placebo. And the second study had 20 patients. 10 received ibogaine, 1,800 milligrams, and 10 received placebo. These are far less than the number of subjects that the FDA requires in studies for review and approval. Now, Rogan also points out that the process of studying the drug was too slow and should be accelerated or skipped altogether and just approve it based on our current existing experience. Well, this is wrong. The pace of development of ibogaine is not slower than other psychotropic drugs, which must go through a specific set of 3 phases before they can submit a new drug application to the FDA for review and approval. The problem is that no company had been studying the drug until now because it was illegal, the result of the government's overreaction to the use of recreational intoxicant drugs in the 1960s. These restrictions have only recently been relaxed in the wake of renewed interest in the potential therapeutic properties of psychedelic drugs. Also, it would be nice if we knew the mechanism of action of why ibogaine might be potentially beneficial for addiction or any other indications. Now, it's okay to be lucky, and if serendipity gives us a drug that we have no idea why it works but know that it does work, well, we'll accept that. But it would be better to understand how the drug is working and why and who it would be effective for and for what specific purposes. Another issue that should be mentioned is that ibogaine is not even a psychedelic. It's a different kind of drug. The classical psychedelics are psilocybin, mescaline, DMT, and LSD. But others that are being lumped in with these psychedelics include ibogaine, MDMA, ketamine, and PCP. But they have different mechanisms of action, and they produce different effects in terms of altered states of consciousness. So Joe Rogan's intent was good, but maybe his exhortation could have been better if it prompted the government to get their ass in gear and accelerate the study of ibogaine to develop the data necessary to reliably determine its effectiveness. If all stops were pulled out, it could be done in under 2 years. The renewed interest that we're seeing now in drugs that were used largely as recreational intoxicants is not without purpose, because they do hold great potential. They can be used, the psychedelics, the dissociative, the empathogen drugs may be effective for various mental disorders and psychiatric indications. But innovation is not validation, and the plural of anecdote is not evidence. So let's do this right. full speed ahead in studying these drugs to be sure that they're safe and really work. For now, this is Dr. Jeffrey Lieberman, and this has been another Shrink Short.